Welcome back, everyone. Today's explainer dives into a major catalyst that's literally reshaping an entire continent's financial future. We're unpacking how a seemingly routine, run-of-the-mill state visit is actually masking a massive structural shift in African economic strategy. Let's look at exactly where the focus is moving over the next decade.
I mean, state visits happen all the time, right? Politicians fly in, they shake hands on a red carpet, take a few photos, and everyone goes home. So why is this specific diplomatic visit making immediate waves across corporate boardrooms in African markets? Well, today, we're zooming out from this single event to reveal a continental master plan that's unfolding right in front of us.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the high-stakes visit. Here's the timeline of the engagement that really caught everyone's attention. On May 29, 2026, the South African presidency dropped an official announcement. President Cyril Ramaphosa would be hosting Kenyan President William Ruto for a state visit in Tshwane from June 3rd to June 5th. Now, in the world of international relations, announcements happen literally every single day. But the scale of economic cooperation put on the table here, it was highly unusual for a standard visit. Usually, these agendas take months, maybe even years, to ripple into the private sector. But this announcement instantly elevated attention across government and business circles alike.
And the core reason for all that buzz? The inclusion of a dedicated business forum. Unlike routine diplomatic exchanges that mostly just focus on, foreign policy or security, this engagement was specifically engineered from the ground up to unlock concrete trade, investment, and commercial partnerships. They aren't just bringing diplomats to the table, they're bringing the absolute titans of industry.
Moving on to Section 2, two African powerhouses. Let's look at the players. Now, what's really interesting about this dynamic is exactly why this partnership is so potent. South Africa obviously remains the continent's most industrialized economy and its undeniable financial hub. Meanwhile, Kenya has aggressively strengthened its position as East Africa's commercial, logistics, and technology gateway. The key takeaway here is they aren't competitors fighting for the exact same piece of the pie. They are perfectly complementary puzzle pieces. South Africa brings the industrial and financial muscle, and Kenya provides the tech-savvy logistical gateway to the East. It's a perfect match.
Because these two economies fit together so well, the cross-border opportunities are just massive. We're talking about connecting South Africa's manufacturing and energy muscle directly with Kenya's digital infrastructure and logistical networks. Add financial services and agriculture into the mix, and the synergy is incredibly powerful. For multinational companies, banks, and infrastructure developers, closer alignment between Ramaphosa and Ruto opens up truly unprecedented avenues. Honestly, if you're operating in Africa's digital infrastructure or manufacturing sectors, this is your blueprint for where the growth is going to happen next.
But this isn't just about two nations teaming up. Section 3, a shift in strategy. It's about a total paradigm shift.
To really grasp the new playbook, we have to look back at the old one. Historically, the strategy for many African nations was a heavy reliance on external markets. Growth basically depended on exporting raw materials to the West or the East and just waiting for foreign direct investment from outside the continent. But with global economic fragmentation continuing and competition for global capital intensifying, relying entirely on external markets is just no longer a viable long-term strategy. Which brings us to a brilliant strategic pivot. The old approach paired symbolic diplomacy with external reliance. But the new strategy? It relies on what we're calling economic execution, aimed squarely at building intra-African corridors. African leaders are waking up to the fact that their growth increasingly depends on partnering with each other rather than constantly looking outward. Large African economies are now positioning themselves as active commercial partners, not competitors.
So, the absolutely crucial point here is this concept of economic execution. Governments face immense pressure right now. They need to deliver measurable outcomes, they need to attract serious investment, and they desperately need to accelerate job creation. You just can't achieve that with symbolic photo ops anymore. By using state visits as platforms for actual, tangible commercial deal-making, Ramaphosa and Ruto are demonstrating some highly practical leadership. They are replacing the mere handshake with measurable economic growth.
Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 4, the continental ripple effect. This bilateral move between South Africa and Kenya definitely doesn't happen in a vacuum. It ties directly into the acceleration of the African Continental Free Trade Area, which, by the way, is actually the world's largest free trade area by number of participating countries. What we're seeing here is a highly coordinated effort to improve cross-border investment flows and really strengthen regional value chains. When Africa's largest economic centers coordinate their growth like this, it acts as a massive engine for the wider free trade agreement. It proves that the framework can actually work in practice, not just on paper.
I want to read this quote directly from the source material because it absolutely hits the nail on the head. African economic influence is increasingly being shaped through strategic partnerships between African nations themselves. Think about that. If meaningful investment commitments emerge from this business forum in Chwane, this single-state visit is going to become the ultimate reference point for a much more integrated African growth model. It reinforces a brand new narrative, one that could easily become the defining economic story of the entire decade.
So I want to leave you with this provocative final thought. As we watch Africa's giants team up and transition to true economic execution, are we witnessing the final days of external economic reliance? This isn't just diplomacy anymore. It's a fundamental structural rewiring of the African economy. Keep a very close eye on the deals that emerge from Chwane. Thank you for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and as always, keep looking at the bigger picture.